The chapter is called The Art of Planning. Sometimes you may be wondering how top grandmasters can analyze positions so far ahead. You may be seeing their analysis for 10, 15 moves ahead, and you don't know why they select these moves and not something else, and how can they calculate it for such a long time period. Also, if you see how top grandmasters comment on the games, at times you can see their evaluations, like the grandmaster says, and this is probably a draw. But you look at the board and you see that there are plenty of pieces, and you have no idea how he came up to that conclusion. Because, in your opinion, this is very far from the draw, and you see that there are plenty of possibilities for both sides, and you're totally unsure of how to evaluate this position at all, while the grandmaster states that this is probably a draw. I actually had the same confusion for quite a long time period. But then there was one eye-opener moment for me. I was an international master at that moment, and I took some training with the Grandmaster Vladimir Malanyuk, and that was the point where I realized what is the difference between the international master and the grandmaster, and how can grandmasters analyze positions so deeply. So now I'm happy to share this knowledge with you. Okay, let's have a look at this example. Oh, this is my game, I was playing white. First, let me ask you the question. How do you think? What is the evaluation of this position? Does anyone have the advantage, or is it approximately equal? What do you think? When I was playing the game, I thought that this is probably approximately equal. Okay, black can capture the bishop for the knight, which is generally good for black, but after that white will take with the rook and maybe double rooks on the f-file, so white will have some active play on the king side. And I see that the material is equal, and it doesn't look like any side has any decisive advantage, so I thought that it should be more or less equal. And then I come to analyze this position with my coach, Grandmaster Malanyuk. He was looking at this position and he told me, okay, let's imagine what may happen afterwards in this game. So black probably would try to play along the e-file, where white has some weak squares, and maybe to attack the white's weak pawns, which are slightly advanced, like the d5, a4 pawns. But of course, first of all, black needs to activate his forces. So let's think what may happen. Let's say first he'll take the bishop, then play bishop g5, just to drive the white pieces back. And white plays rook f3 to cover the e3 square. And then, okay, black will just need to find the right setup for his pieces. So he said that, okay, maybe the bishop may go to g7. For example, black can transfer it through h6, then to g7. The queen may go to b6 or a5 to attack the white's weak pawns in the center and on the queen side, and then black may double rooks on the e-file, and after that he will start attacking the white's weaknesses along the e-file and the white's pawns, like the d5 pawn, the b2 pawn, the a4 pawn, and so forth. So that is the black's plan. And then he asked me, what is the white's plan here? I said, okay, maybe I'll play on the king side and just try to do something there. He said, but okay, even if you play rook f1, it's enough for black to play rook e7, protect the pawn, and that's pretty much it. So I thought for some more time, and I couldn't really find any plan which can actually be realized in practice. And then he told me, so you see, the white's position is very dangerous, it's close to losing. Black will improve his position gradually, realize his plan, but it's hard to think of what can white do here. Therefore, black will improve his position gradually, and it will become better and better, and white is in a serious danger of a loss. You see the great difference between the evaluation of my own evaluation of this position and the evaluation of an experienced grandmaster. So I was evaluating the current situation, and I've seen that material is equal. There is nothing specific for both sides, and I thought it's equal. The grandmaster took a completely different approach. Instead of thinking just about the given position, he thought about the plans of both sides. And once he realized that there is a good plan for black and that there is no good plan for white, he could be foresee the situation for some time ahead, and he could see that in the future black would be improving his position methodically, but white will not, and therefore black will outplay white, and black has the great chances to win the game. Now, this is the big difference that I wanted that you learn. If you can comprehend the plans of both sides, you can foresee the situation for a long period ahead, and you can make the ultimate conclusion of what may be the outcome of the game. Here's one more position. How do you think, what's the evaluation of this position? Well, it looks like white is slightly better because he has some space advantage. At the same time, we can see that it's just the end of the opening, so you may expect that there is a long game after that, and now both players will start realizing their middle game plans, and it's gonna be a long and tough battle, right? So that's what you might think about this position. In the book My Great Predecessors, Garry Kasparov states here that after queen to d3, black is on the brink of loss. You can see that this evaluation is very different from what you may expect it. Also, you may be totally confused of how this complex position, which rather closest to the beginning of the game, may be evaluated as almost winning for white. You know, that's really confusing. But let's recollect the art of planning. And let's look at this position not just from the current perspective, but from the perspective of the plans of both players. Okay, so let's say what black is going to do here. What may be his active plan in this position? He needs to break through somewhere if he wants to do anything active. And there are only two possible plans that black may have. One of them is the standard expansion on the queen side. He may try to play a6 and b5. However, if white plays queen d3, it's very hard to imagine how can black prepare this advancement of the pawn. And you see that black's pieces are just placed awkwardly, and you may expect that even if black will ever prepare this a6 b5 advancement, it will take so long time that probably in practice it's simply impossible to do that. The second eventual plan for black is to push in the center and play something like e6. But here the problem for black once again is that if black ever tries to play e6, then since white has the good control over the d-file, white will be able to capture the pawn and probably just win the black's weak d6 pawn. White will play rook a to d1 and will capture that. Though in reality we can see that although black have two potential plans, this is very hard, almost impossible to realize any of them. Now let's think about the white's plan. Well, first of all, we can see that white has the space advantage, and therefore he can place his pieces on the almost any square he wants, and naturally his plan will probably be to break through with e5 in the center at some point after the proper preparation, and then he'll break through and will continue attacking there. After we evaluated the plans of both sides, we can really see why the black's position is so desperate. He has nothing to do, while white has the clear plan to increase his advantage and to continue the attack. That's why Kasparov, having the great planning skills, evaluated this position as almost winning for white. Now let's make a little summary. What's the difference in the thinking of amateur players and the top grandmasters? So the average player, while playing a game, thinks of which move he needs to play. Yes, we know that we also need to compose some plans, but anyway, basically you just think which move you need to play at the given position. And sometimes if you're unsure what to do, then you try to come up with some logical plan and then play moves which will help realize it. Anyway, most of the cases you just think about which move should I play here. The grandmaster's perspective, attitude for the game is different. They first of all think about the plans, and only then they start thinking about the particular move you need to play in the given position. The second great difference is that even when the average player tries to think about the plan, he usually thinks about his own plan. He tries to figure out what he needs to do. The grandmasters think much deeper. They evaluate the plans not only of themselves but also of their opponents. Because when you know the plans of both players, you can easily project what's going to happen in this game afterwards. And based on this projection, you can evaluate what might happen in 5 moves and 10 moves from now, and you may evaluate the projected outcome of this position and the projected result. So these are the two great differences between the planning of amateur players and top grandmasters. And if you adopt this, you can just imagine how greatly will be the improvement of your positional understanding and strategic play. Apart from great planning skills, the GMs possess one more extra skill that allows them to analyze positions so deeply. Let's take a look at this example. Here you may heard that a grandmaster says something like, if white takes on the c4, then it's probably a draw. And then he provides some long variations proving that this is indeed a draw. When you hear something like this, you may be totally confused, because you see that in a position there are so many possible moves that white and black can play, and you're just not sure how it is possible to analyze all of them and come to any final conclusion. So let's go through the game together, and I'll show you how the GMs do that.